Mario.
Hi, Rolly.
Hi, how we doing, man?
Good. Give me 1 second. Sophia is my
Sure.
technical advisor here.
Oh, okay.
Just want to make sure. Okay, good. Okay. You want me to sit here? Okay. I'm being told what to do
Uh,
by my director here. How's it going?
oh, it's going good, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
How's
So
your week
how
been?
you been over there?
I've been okay. Not bad. A little bit of a rough week, but as things progress and as it gets farther away from my treatment, I typically feel a little bit better, but um, a little bit more difficult than I'm used to, I guess, for this week. So,
Right, right, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I really just wanted to kind of get your story recorded. Um it's been like what, a year and a half ago now?
yeah, a little bit more than a year and a half, by a year and 7 months now since
Wow.
my diagnosis.
Uh-huh.
So, you just want me to start at the beginning?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
September is September 7th, 2018, is when I was diagnosed with stage 4 malignant stomach cancer. And at that point, um, I guess you could say anytime anyone hears stage 4, you know,
Right. Hmm.
you kind of hear in your head, it's more like a death sentence. That's kind of what I was hearing. And then without me even thinking about what the next step was, I decided to do everything I could to make sure that I did whatever I could to be around for my family. So the first thing
Hmm.
I did is I changed my diet totally.
Uh-huh.
I was predominantly I used to be a big time foodie. I would go everywhere, eat anything.
Right. Right.
Um, you know, not really caring about the health benefits of what I was doing, as
Right.
long as it tasted good. I mean,
Give me
that,
one second.
that was my motto in life. Live to eat.
Uh-huh.
And so,
What did you eat at the time?
I mean, I was having the meats,
Uh-huh.
red meat. I mean, my Annabelle's listening to me right now, so she's coaching me on what was
Oh,
going on.
good.
Yeah.
Hi,
So,
Annabelle.
Medium rare.
yeah,
Medium rare.
medium rare. Yeah, that's right, medium rare steaks. And I was warned, about the harmful effects of eating foods like that. Barbecuing. I guess you could say in the church I was known as a barbecue king, since I was really really good at making my steaks and having the people come over here and eat
Uh-huh.
and pig out. But you know, change is a hard thing to come by, and change only happens when you're forced to it.
Hmm.
And so, at the time when I guess you could say I was given my diagnosis, it was either I changed or I let things progress as they were, did totally nothing, and then kind of, I guess you could say, suffer the consequences later on down the road.
Mhm.
And so, for me, I've always believed that, as far as the health messages that the Seventh-day Adventist people hold, I've always felt that it's something that we sometimes neglect,
Mhm.
as a denomination. And the interesting thing that I'm seeing now is a lot of the stuff that we've been holding on to for almost 100 years now, or maybe even more than 100 years. Now you're seeing other denominations kind of pick up on, what the Seventh-day Adventists knew a long time ago, about how to eat, how to make sure that, you get enough rest, the sunshine, the exercise, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And, initially, I mean, I was doing majority of it. I as I'm big into exercising, love hiking. I like to be outdoors. And so all these other things that I was doing, I was looking at it from the standpoint, well, I'm doing all these things. There's no way I could be sick
Mhm.
from, doing most of it. So I guess you could say you can't do things 80 to 90%. And, the way I look at it is also from my standpoint with my walk with God.
Mm-hmm.
We can't be 90% with God. We can't be 80%. We have to be 100.
Uh-huh.
So, kind of reevaluating, the whole situation. I decided to, if I'm going to, do this, especially, with the situation I was in, I was really just going to change my whole diet. And so in the beginning, you kind of know what was going on. I went on a really strict organic vegan diet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was basically a raw vegan diet.
Right, right.
And, I never thought I could do that. I've heard people trying to do it and, but I did it for almost, I think, 4 or 5 months where it was just typically a raw vegan diet.
Mm-hmm.
And I can honestly say, I think that really prolonged my life because it wasn't about until I want to say maybe 3 months later on down the road, I was meeting with one of my nurse practitioners. And, I was beginning to feel a little bit better. I had been going through chemo, wasn't feeling any effects of the chemo, what they normally would warn you about. And so I was thinking, the Lord's being really gracious to me. I'm kind of a walking miracle. And then I was talking about going into remission because I was feeling great, exercising still, lifting weights, doing, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I was kind of given another blow. At that time, I was told that it could be genetic. And so during that time,
Mm-hmm.
I was like thinking genetic, that means I could pass this on to my children. And so they said, well, the only way we can find out is to go ahead and test yourself. And then, we'll know if the genes are there for you passing this on. And so I was given, the likelihood of it being genetically passed on was pretty high because the type of stomach cancer I have is usually genetically passed on.
Right, right.
And so
Yeah, take your time, man.
So to be diagnosed and then knowing that this could be something that you can pass on to your children, it was kind of like a double hit to me.
Yeah.
And so, praise the Lord, we took the test and, like I said, the likelihood of it being genetically passed on was pretty high, but I have to say God is always good in any circumstances. And so we found out that it wasn't genetically passed on.
Amen.
So, praise the Lord for that. And so as, we, kind of went on with, doing some more testing and talking to the nurse practitioner, I also found out at that time that the diagnosis was pretty serious. And what I mean by serious is I was talking about remission because I was feeling good. I was feeling like there wasn't, I was like, did I really get diagnosed with cancer? Did they misdiagnose me? Because I was feeling pretty good at that time.
Mm-hmm.
There were symptoms that maybe, that were a little bit abnormal, like I couldn't eat, I couldn't swallow, things like, of that nature. But, once I was going through the chemo treatment, I was feeling pretty good. And so as I was meeting with one of my nurse practitioners, I just was talking about maybe going into remission and beating this thing. And then she kind of looked at me and she goes, I think you need to have another talk with your doctor. And me and my oncologist, we had a kind of an understanding that I'm not going to really ask for all the details. But if I do ask, then you tell me. So, I didn't want to know how serious the issue was, but once my nurse practitioner said, you better talk with your doctor, I just went, I can't believe this again. So I went to talk to my doctor, and this is kind of where, I guess you could say the turning point kind of happened. me understanding the reality of the situation I was in. And then, I sat down with her, I talked with her. She goes, well, we had this understanding that I wasn't going to tell you everything unless you asked. And I said, okay. I said, now tell me everything. And then that's kind of when it was revealed to me, kind of in the 3rd or 4th month, that I had about 6 to 12 months to live. It's kind of funny because the first thing I asked her was, can I go on vacation? I mean,
right after that, you said, can I
basically, yeah. I just told her, I said, well, since, I only have 6 to 12 months to live, while I'm able to get around and move around and to be active, because I didn't feel, like I said, I didn't feel sick.
Right.
I just said to her, I go, is it okay if I go on a vacation? And she said, yeah, go ahead, go for it. And, to me, that was kind of surprising. A person that's terminally ill is given 6 to, 12 months to live, and she's going, go at it, have fun, enjoy, enjoy. I guess you could say, enjoy the rest of your life. So at that time, I kind of decided I was going to take my children, my family, to Disney. And, we took off literally within like maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I had taken my children to Disney World because they had never been to Disney World before. They had been to Disneyland, but never to Disney World. And so I wanted to make sure that they had that opportunity to see the Magic Kingdom with me. Because, the most important thing is, one of the things I believe is you create memories, with people that will last a lifetime. And these are the things that I remember as a youngster with my family. And so I wanted to make sure that my children had those kind of memories with me. So we went. Unfortunately for me, I was terrible with my diet. I had broken every single dietary rule.
You're such a foodie.
I know. And my mom even said to me, she was like going, why did you come here? Did you come here for the food? And she even asked that to Annabelle. She was, is this the reason you came here? She didn't even come here for anything but the food, right? But it just goes to show you that when you start to deviate from your proper diet, especially when you're in a situation like me, it can have great effects. And so at that time, one of the other issues that I have, with me just not, it's not only having stage 4 stomach cancer, but I also have what they call ascites. And so it's basically a damaging of the liver, where if the ascites starts to get exposed, or if it starts to inflame, then what happens is I get fluid in the abdomen, and it does look like I'm a pregnant man, when it gets to the point where it's totally, full blown. And so at that time, I had not really shown any symptoms of ascites, but when I went over to Florida, I had basically dropped my diet and kind of went on a food binge. By the 2nd week, I was in the ER. And the doctor then was thinking of tapping my abdomen at the time. It had gotten so bad that I wasn't even able to button the bottom parts of my shirt, because it had basically expanded to almost full extension. I guess you could say I was at full term. If you're talking about a woman in labor. And it was hard to sleep, it was hard to breathe, it was hard to move around. That's kind of where my parents were thinking, maybe we just go back home, we'll just take it easy. But I didn't want to ruin the vacation, so I meant to kind of tough it out and just have my family stay there, for the full 2 weeks. But when I came back, I was having some major difficulties. And then when I finally did get what they call tapped, when they tapped my abdomen, they pulled out, the first time was 5 liters, because that's as much as they could pull out per tap. And then I went back in there, I guess you could say 2 days later, where I'm thinking that they're probably going to pull out maybe 1 or 2 liters. They pulled out another 5 liters. So you think about 10 liters, being pulled out of me within like 2 days. And I had dropped, because of all of that fluid that was in me, about 22 pounds. So, that was a massive weight drop just from them coming and taking that fluid out of my abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
But, praise the Lord, it's been over a year since I've had a tap. And they even were telling me, don't be surprised if you go back in 6 weeks or even 2 to 3 weeks. So they were kind of, letting me know that once you, do this, it's something that kind of becomes kind of a normal thing for a lot of people with ascites. At that point, I said, I don't want to be the normal person, that gets tapped all the time. I wanted to make sure that if I can prolong it, I would. And so that's kind of the reason why, I started becoming a little bit more strict with my diet. And, even though I'm not 100% strict right now, I try to be as strict as I can. Like everything or the majority of stuff that I eat is organic, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, as much as I can, smoothies, juicing as much as I can. And so those are the things that have been pretty prominent in my diet. And of course, being in a situation where it's able to give me a longevity, over the diagnosis that I was given. So, I mean, that's kind of what it's, been going on, recently.
Sure.
And again, prayers, I just can't say enough. I mean, if it wasn't for the prayers of all of the people, all my friends, all my families, my clients, people that have met me, at Seattle Cancer Care, I cannot tell you. It's an amazing, and humbling.
Right.
It is, and that's what it comes down to, is lots of prayer, making sure that you're thankful every day, trying to keep a good attitude. Sometimes it's hard to, especially when I'm in a situation where I'm in so much pain where I have to call my triage nurse to find out if I have to go back into the ER. But for some reason, even when I have episodes where I think I might need to go into the ER, for some reason it doesn't happen. And I just praise the Lord for that.
Right. So this whole experience, you were a pretty healthy guy, Mario. I remember, I know you do those hikes, and we're both hikers. But how did this experience now kind of change the way you approach life, or even wake up in the morning, or how did it change everything?
Before, of course, this COVID-19 thing hit, I made it a point that even though I was going through all these treatments, and even though the treatments were taking a toll, on my body physically, that as soon as I felt well enough, I would be back in the gym right away. And so, that's the one thing that I kept my mindset at, is I'm not going to let this thing determine how I live my life. I'm going to determine how I live my life. And so that was my mindset from day one. People even asked me the question, are you still working? Of course I'm still working. I mean, why wouldn't I want to, still work? I mean, if it's something I enjoy, it's something that, I love to do, helping people, with their financial issues. Why wouldn't I want to keep continuing what I'm doing? And especially if my job is giving me the flexibility to do so. So I just basically took all that and I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to give myself a little bit of time to recover and rest from each chemo treatment. And then I'm going to basically, go to the gym, hit the weights hard, hit the cardio hard, and then, work. And so that's kind of been my mantra is, keep your mind always occupied on other things. Don't worry about, what the situation is until the situation arises. And so, that mindset is in a way has kept me healthy in retrospect, is just knowing that there's something for me to look forward to the next day.
Wow. That sounds like it requires some serious mind power.
Sometimes it's harder than I'm saying it.
Right.
there are some days, and me and Annabelle have struggled where, where I feel so sick or I feel so weak that sometimes I'm just like, is it easier to give up? And so at that point, the most important thing is, when you have a good spouse that is encouraging, and, will not let you stay down that long, it is a blessing. And so when it gets to that point, Annabelle's always there to remind me, don't stay here. Keep fighting. We want you around. We need you around. And so that's kind of been my strength is when I'm really weak. Of course, God is my strength, especially when I'm really weak. But He sends people, whether it's your spouse, whether it's friends, to send, and give you encouraging words to kind of give you that motivation to say, hey, look, you know what? Stop pitting yourself. Stop worrying so much, and get off the floor, get up, and start doing things that'll motivate you, that'll keep you going. And so that's been a blessing. By far, an incredible blessing is not just with my wife, but with so many people that will message me via messenger like you do. I know a friend of mine that I went to school with in Auburn, Michelle Mayhew, that always sends me. One of my clients, she always sends me messages, and she sends me these long scripture readings, and she sends me videos of these Christian artists that have real inspirational music. There are so many people that are out there that really influence my mood and my attitude, that it gives me an understanding of hope that the Lord is actually there using these people to encourage you and to give you a sense of His presence in your life. So I can't count, or I can't tell you how many countless times that people have sent me a message that was just so perfect for how I was feeling, or the situation I was going through. And the struggles that I guess you could say a lot of patients go through in my situation, I can only wish that a lot of them had this type of support system that I do. And so I've just, like I said, I've just been truly blessed. I have 1 second here.
Sure. So, I remember that day the day that I heard about the diagnosis, and we were at where it was Rosario Beach.
Sorry, yeah.
And then we went on a hike that day, and I know it was fresh on everyone's mind. I know what I was thinking at the time when I heard about it and you were there. What we were going through that hike a little bit. What were you thinking at that time?
Boy, there was a lot of stuff that was going through my mind. One of the main things is, how long is the Lord going to give me? I'm not going to lie. That first week, I was wallowing in self-pity. It took me a while to kind of shake it off. And, with a lot of scripture reading Spirit of Prophecy, that's kind of where I started to come out of, my dark cloud. It took a while, but, for the longest time, I was just thinking to myself, why did this happen to me? This was like, basically was the very first day. And so I just kept wondering, how did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? So I had a lot of questions, at that time. But, when I kind of look back upon it, there was a lot of things that I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful for my buddy, Chris, who always takes me on these hikes, takes me on these crazy hikes, with, a lot of the youth. If it wasn't for him, my stamina, my cardio, I don't think would have been, where it was at. Matthew, who about maybe a year or 2 years prior to that, asked me to train him and, get me back into the gym. Because at that point I was actually quite overweight. And in that 2 years that we started working out, I mean, I could tell, the physical fitness started to come back pretty quickly. And I mean, there was a lot of factors that entered that really, I think, helped with the diagnosis of cancer, mentally, physically, spiritually. There was a lot of things that played a part in me being able to, I guess you could say, fight this cancer. So, and I mean, like I said, so many people that I have to be thankful for. I mean, it's kind of hard to count all these people. You for one, I remember you giving me all this, help of what to take, the charcoal and the water,
Right.
Yeah, I remember all that stuff. And so, I mean, there were so many people that were, with me, helping me, pulling for me. It was an incredible experience, and it still is an incredible experience to know that I've been so blessed. And then, of course, when they had that fundraiser, and that was, to me, that was a surprise in itself, because I mean, I kind of knew, the cost of being a cancer patient, but now that I see how much Primera and we are paying out, I didn't realize how much it really does cost. That average is not close to, at least in my situation, it's not close to what, the average is. I'm like 10 times above the average. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Right.
But to have that kind of support around me, and people just coming out and really being part of, my recovery, and also part of, part as far as helping my family, supporting them go through this. It's kind of hard to really put in words how I felt about it, but it's immeasurable.
Gotcha. We love you, Mario. Come on, man. So let's just say, hypothetically, what if there was somebody that just received that diagnosis, the same diagnosis that you got, and the same prognosis, 6 to 12 months? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to make sure that if they wanted to extend their life, that they need to make a total change. I mean, it's something that, that I am a firm believer on. I mean, one of the things that people don't know, and some people do, but most people don't know, especially when they meet me for the first time, or they, is the fasting side of it. I think is so important, especially, when it comes to the chemo treatment. I was really blessed to kind of find out about the miracle benefits of fasting through Noemi Francois. And, she was basically just saying, have you ever thought about this? And a Filipino and fasting, it's almost like an oxymoron. It just doesn't happen, I mean, we love to eat, we love to party, we love to eat and party, we love to barbecue, eat and party. And so all these things, it's almost like the total opposite of our culture, And so when she kind of presented this to me, at first I was like, okay, thank you for this, wonderful video. But in my, in the back of my head, I was thinking to myself, I mean, I fasted one time, and that was for a colonoscopy. And I remember during that fast, I was hangry. I mean, I remember Annabelle making some food in the kitchen, and I was like, what are you doing? What are you cooking in front of me? I could smell that food, don't do that. And so during this time, I was just like thinking to myself, there is no way this Filipino guy is going to fast. But I remember, as I was again reading, my Bible and also the Spirit of Prophecy, I remember there was this passage, and it was talking about Jesus, it's 40 days in the wilderness, and that brought up, of course, his fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there was the spiritual sense to it, where it wasn't just about the fasting side of it.
Gotcha.
But it was
and
about,
just so you know, I may only have about 5 or 6 minutes because this is only the free Zoom.
okay, reason, okay. Then I'll quickly go through this then.
Sure, don't
And
worry.
so the whole story is I just basically read through it, and I kind of had an impression that God wanted me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just basically said, okay, if this is something that you're impressing me to do, I go, give me another sign. And so at that point, we were having family worship. We try to have it every night. And so my kids were reading, and they were reading the story about the apostles. They were going, healing the sick. And then they got to this one little boy that they couldn't cast out the demons. They brought the little boy to Jesus, and then Jesus did a little rebuke to his apostles, saying, it's because you did not pray and fast. That was like the third time in a row. And I was just like, okay, Lord, I said, if this is going to be something that you are impressing me to do, I said, you have to give me the power to do this, because I can't do this on my own. And then when I started fasting, I actually started fasting like just to begin with. I was fasting 3 to 4 days in a row. Yeah. And I've never done it before. And so, I mean, you could just see that when the Lord is impressing you to do something, he's not going to do or give you a task that he's not going to be there to give you strength to do. And again, I really think that, the fasting side of doing it during chemo has been just a blessing to me. So, that's just kind of my little 2 cents on fasting.
Awesome. What do you think it is about fasting that prolongs life or helps so much?
Well, we always talked about rest. Sabbath is, an incredible, part of, what we believe in as far as Seventh-day Adventists, about resting on the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
What the fast does is it actually gives your body a rest. So, at the point of its resting, it gives that internal organs a chance to kind of regenerate and heal itself. And so I think that's where fasting becomes an important part of, of our spiritual walk too. I'm not saying that everyone is capable of doing it or everyone should, but I think with fasting comes a lot of self-denial. With fasting, comes a lot of patience and humbleness. Mm-hmm. and extreme amounts of prayer if you really want to get through it, and be sane.
Right.
So it takes a lot to fast.
Gotcha. Well, I think I only have a few minutes here, but is there anything else that you'd like to add and say, maybe to for the people that would be watching? And
I mean, the only thing I could really say is if you're ever diagnosed with this, whatever cancer stage, whatever stage it is, always know that, there are people that really care about you, that really want you to pull through this. I mean, don't go into the diagnosis defeated, because if you do, I mean, you've already lost. Mm-hmm. Know that there are so many people out there, and I've talked to so many people about this, that want, these people that are diagnosed with cancer to really beat this. And if you could just hold on to those people, the positive people, and get rid of all the negative people in your life, seriously, you'll have a better chance, and you'll have a fighting chance when it comes to beating your diagnosis. And so, that with an incredible amount of people supporting you and prayer, anything and everything's possible. I still believe that if the Lord wants me healed, he'll heal me, but if he wants to use me as an example of his sustaining power and love for me, he'll do that too. So, there's nothing that's impossible with the Lord, but in any situation, I always, ask him, just use me in whatever capacity you feel will glorify you.
Oh man. Thanks, Mario. I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Love you, brother.
So good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, brother. You take care.
Okay. God bless.
Bye.
Bye bye.